Hey everyone, Kyle Walker here. If you love cars, fixing things, or just want to understand your vehicle better, you're in the right place. I share hands-on tips, smart driving advice, and straight-up car talk without the fluff. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and stick around till the end. You don't want to miss what's coming up. Let's get into it.
The ECU, that is, the electronic control unit, constantly receives signals from sensors, sends commands to the executive mechanisms, based on the information received. If there are any problems or malfunctions, the unit can display this in the form of an error. Speaking of detonation, here it is possible to fix 4 errors. These are codes in the range from P0325 to P0328. One of the errors of interest to motorists is considered to be P0326. It means, literally translated from English, that the signal from the detonation sensor has exceeded its permissible range. In many ways, it resembles the error code P0325, but it has its own peculiarities, which are worth paying attention to. What it is? The first thing to understand is the meaning of the error code P0326 and what the recording of such a value in the control unit says. The error under consideration indicates that in the course of checking the sensor on the ECU side, a malfunction in the form of a short circuit or break was detected. The controller has failed. If the difference between the signal from the detonation controller and the level of noise generated is lower than the threshold value, recorded over a period of time, the ECU will generate a corresponding error. Also, a similar code may appear if the sensor signal parameters are lower or higher than the level within which it should function. Characteristic signs. Many motorists in their practice have encountered similar problems. For them, it will not be difficult to determine the presence of problems on the part of the detonation sensor. The only problem is that with 0326, the symptomatology will be approximately the same as with all other detonation errors. It can manifest as unstable operation of the power unit at idle speed, a noticeable downward change in acceleration dynamics, detonation. Phenomena of the internal combustion engine. The ECU enters the emergency operating mode. If the unit detects such an error, the check engine light, check or check engine, lights up on the dashboard. But for such an error to occur, the appropriate conditions must be created. Conditions of error occurrence. Before the electronic block records the error in question, some conditions must be met. Namely, the ECU must constantly work in the normal mode of control over the processes of fuel detonation. Most often this mode is active by default, so no additional actions to switch to it do not need to be done. According to the information received from the sensor, it was determined that the amplitude of the signal transmitted to the ECU is lower than the minimum design threshold value set by the manufacturer. In parallel, the engine has already had time to warm up. It operates at revolutions from 2,500 revolutions per minute or higher. The presented conditions must be fixed 3 times. Only after 3 repetitions the error appears. The problem does not arise for nothing. Its appearance can be conditioned by several reasons. Read also, what to do when turning on the cooling fan on a cold engine. Possible causes. Each of the following causes can potentially be the culprit of problems in the operation of the special fuel detonation sensor. In total, there are 3 possible malfunctions. Malfunction, failure or breakdown of the controller itself. In this case, the fuel detonation sensor transmits incorrect information to the controlling unit. Problems on the contacts. This can include oxidation, weakening, violation of the strength of the connection. This occurs on the contact pad itself or on the controller connector. Problems in the electrical circuit. The information from the sensor is transmitted from the sensor to the electronic control unit. The problem lies in breaks or short circuits. Very rarely the cause is associated with the fact that there is a failure in the ECU. But such a problem should also not be excluded. If within the framework of diagnostics the described 3 problems were not confirmed, then the only option remains, although the most unlikely, cars subject to the error. It is difficult to single out specific models on which it is possible to encounter such a problem on the part of the detonation sensor. This is a malfunction characteristic of domestic and imported cars. Therefore, you can encounter error 0326 on VAZ 2114, Hyundai Accent, other representatives of VAZ, including 2115, models like Kalina, Priora, etc. It would be wrong to say that on the same VAZ2114, the error of P0326 type occurs more often than on Kia Rio or Renault Logan cars. The only thing worth adding is that such an error most often occurs on vehicles where low-quality sensors are initially used. One of the provocateurs of errors on the part of the detonation sensor is fueling with fuel with a lower octane number than recommended by the manufacturer. Therefore, it is not possible to attribute this error to some cars as a chronic and frequently occurring one. Just certain conditions for its occurrence must be created, and it is not always the motorist's fault. If there is a bad sensor from the factory on the car, there is a high risk that soon the check engine light will light up on the dashboard, and the corresponding code designation will be recorded in the control unit. Peculiarities of diagnostics. Diagnostics begins with checking the fact that the error is not the result of false triggering of the system. This sometimes happens, and after this problem occurs, there are no real malfunctions on the part of the engine, fuel system, and detonation sensor. It is quite easy to carry out such diagnostics. To do this, first erase the error code from the memory according to the instructions provided for each vehicle. The corresponding recommendations can be found in the operating manual. Having reset the error, the driver performs a test drive. In this case, it is necessary to create all the conditions described above, under which such a code comes out in the ECU. Warm up the engine, raise the revolutions to the desired level. If the error came out again, it means that there is some problem, provoking factor. Further diagnostics provides for the performance of such mandatory measures. Turn off the ignition on the car. Find the ECU block and the wire that goes to the detonation sensor. They need to be disconnected for a while. Take a multimeter. The most common, for garage use, will do. It is not necessary to buy an expensive model. With the help of a test instrument, the wires connecting the control unit and the controller are checked for continuity. This procedure is called a test lead. Now check how well and tightly the sensor and ECU wires are connected to each other. If you see traces of corrosion or oxides, you need to clean them. You can do this with fine-grained sandpaper. Just make sure that the car power is disconnected. To do this, simply disconnect the minus terminal from the battery. If the wires are okay, there are no signs of damage, and the contacts are intact, then the tightening torque on the detonation controller seat is also checked. It is extremely important to tighten the sensor in accordance with the manufacturer's recommendations when replacing or installing it. This should be done with a torque wrench, not with hands or ordinary wrenches. It is important to observe a certain regulated tightening torque. It often happens that the sensor is simply not fully tightened. In case of excessive tightening, mechanical damage occurs, and the controller has to be completely replaced. For each specific vehicle, there are different recommendations for the used tightening torque. But on average, it is from 20 to 25 Newton meters for cars of passenger car type. Read also, why can the engine trots? Search for possible causes if the problem is observed on the side of the electronic control unit. Independently get into the brains of the car, trying to find or fix something there, is strongly discouraged. This is a complex procedure that requires special skills, knowledge, equipment, and software. Having excluded all possible problems within the framework of independent diagnostics, and leaving only ECU as the only suspect, it is recommended to contact specialized specialists, or better yet, to an authorized dealer experienced in working with specific ECUs of certain makes and models of cars. Eliminating the error. To get rid of the error that has arisen, which has been considered, to begin with, it is necessary to eliminate the provoking factors. To do this, within the framework of diagnostics, the reasons are determined, because of which the corresponding code was recorded in the memory of the ECU, and the control unit activated the check engine light on the dashboard. If you eliminate the cause, but do not reset the error itself, the sensor will continue to work incorrectly because the ECU perceives it as faulty. That is, the first thing to do is to eliminate the cause, after which the error itself is erased from the block. The easiest way to do this is to reset the minus terminal on the battery. But, depending on the specific car, the manufacturer provides a certain algorithm and method of error resetting. For this purpose, it is necessary to look in the owner's manual. In most cases, it is not necessary to connect scanners or use additional equipment. The error is cleared by pressing the appropriate keys, or by performing certain actions in the prescribed order. In conclusion, the detonation sensor error P0326 indicates a problem with the knock sensor circuit, which can lead to engine performance issues if not addressed. Understanding the causes, such as faulty sensors, wiring issues, or engine knock, is crucial for effective troubleshooting. To fix this error, you may need to inspect the sensor, check the wiring, or even replace the sensor if necessary. By taking these steps, you can ensure your engine runs smoothly and efficiently. Thank you for watching, and we hope this information helps you resolve the P0326 error effectively.